So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you colleagues of Professor Deborah Adekeye in the faculty. Thank you very much for making things so easy for her at the faculty level, and we appreciate you so much. And from the department, are they here? From the Department of Sociology. In fact, when we're saying the department, we need to actually mention the actual, because Professor D.S. Adekeye, she has spread her tentacles to be not just in sociology, but also in criminology, but also in personnel and international relations. But her base is sociology. Do we have people from sociology department in the house? Please rise. Teaching, non-teaching, students. So thank you very much. We appreciate you. I'd like to recognize the presence here, ladies and gentlemen, of Professor J.O. Oyebanji. You didn't clap very well, no? Professor J.O. Oyebanji, you are very much welcome, sir. Welcome, Professor E.T. Jolayemi, you're welcome, sir. Professor Jolayemi, you're most welcome. So we don't have Igbominal people in the house to appreciate Professor Jolayemi. You are appreciated, sir. Even if people from physical sciences are not appreciating you, we appreciate you, sir. And we also want to welcome Dr. Mrs. J.I. Oyebanji, Mama Oyebanji. You're welcome, ma. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, how we started, the inaugural lecture in this university, I told you, dated back to 1979. I saw Professor J.O. Fale. Sir, you're welcome. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. A very strong pillar of the department before he left us. Please let's appreciate Professor Fakeye. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've told you how inaugural lecture started with us in the university. And in the department that actually brought all of us together today, the very first inaugural lecture from the Department of Sociology was in the year 1988. And it was on the 28th of January of the year 1988. And it was by Professor J.S. Shofola. Professor Shofola titled his lecture, Cultural Self-Knowledge and Cultural Self-Appreciation for True Development in Nigeria. That was the very first lecture from the Department of Sociology. And we had a second lecture from the department delivered by a distinguished professor, Noah Yusuf, whom I introduced to us earlier on. And this was in the year 2014, the 20th October 2014. He titled the lecture, Work, Industry and Society, the synergy that mirrors the reality of our everyday existence. That was in 2014. And the third lecture from the department was by Professor Bashir Salawu. Professor Salawu delivered this lecture, and he titled it, Fixing the Thorn in Our Roses, Sociological Imagination for Sustainable Development. It was the third from the department, and it was delivered by Professor Bashir Salawu. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to listen to the fourth lecture from the department, but by the very first woman professor. So the fourth lecture from the department is the reason why we're here today. And the lecture has been titled, Breaking the Glass Ceiling for African Women, a Gender Studies Perspectives. Breaking the Glass Ceiling for African Women, a Gender Studies Perspectives. I was thinking even the women in the house will clap. I was thinking our Director of Gender Studies will lead them. So, and this is to be delivered by our distinguished Professor D.S. Adekeye. Shall we rise, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome the procession of the Vice Chancellor. Please, no more movement. Do not stand in the way of the procession. Do not cross the procession. And do not exchange pleasantries with the procession. We remain standing, ladies and gentlemen, as we observe the university anthem. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Wahab Olashupo Igbewole, SAN, I welcome everyone to the 2093 inaugural lecture titled Breaking the Glass Ceiling for African Women, a Gender Studies Perspectives, which will be presented by Professor Deborah Adekeye from the Department of Sociology, Faculty of Social Sciences. Professor Deborah Adekeye was born on the 8th of August, 1965 in Inaugural to the family of Chief Abraham Binu Omoyo Babatunde and Madam Maria Wuraola Babatunde. She attended St. James Anglican Primary School, Iludunoro. She proceeded to Ilofa Grammar School, Ilofa, for her secondary school education and graduated in 1983. She then pursued her A-level at Kwara State College of Technology in 1985. Professor Adekeye obtained a bachelor degree in sociology in 1988. She bagged a master's degree in public administration and another master's degree in sociology from the University of Ilorin in the year 1996 and 2002, respectively. She obtained a PhD in sociology in 2010 and a postgraduate diploma in education in 2021 from the University of Ilorin. Professor Adekeye started her career as an education officer too in 1990, and then to the position of Chief Education Officer in 2024 within the Kwara State Ministry of Education. And by 2005, she joined the services of the Better by Far University as an assistant lecturer in the Department of Sociology and rose through the ranks to become a professor in 2020. Professor Adekeye has successfully supervised over 250 undergraduate students, 82 master's and master dissertations, and 6 PhD theses. She has served in various capacities within and outside the university, which include member of the team that won 2024 TED Fund grant at Ilorin, Editor-in-Chief of Ilorin Journal of Sociology, 2020 till date, 2 terms Head of Department of the Department of Sociology, 2014 to 2016 and 2018 to 2019 respectively. Head of Department of Criminology and Security Studies, 2017 to 2018. Level advisors from 2005 to 2012. She graduated as students. Faculty representative at Sugar Research Center, 2011 to 2014. Member Faculty Dress Code Committee, 2010 to 2016. Member of Conference Local Organizing Committee, 2006 to 2008. Chairperson, Faculty Welfare Committee, 2014 to 2019. Organizer for Master in Labor and International Relations, 2011 to 2015. Desk Officer for U6 Plus Consortium, 2023 to 2024, among many others. Professor Adekeye has served as an internal examiner for multiple departments and as an external examiner and assessor to universities across Nigeria. Professor Adekeye is a member of many learned professional bodies, such as member Social Science Council of Nigeria and the Anthropological and Sociological Association of Nigeria, member Kwara State Education Trust Fund, member Board of Governors, United Missionary Church of Africa Theological Seminary, Ilorin. Professor Adekeye has over 58 publications in reputable home-based, national and international journals, edited conferences, proceedings, and chapters in books. She has attended local, national, and international conferences. Professor Deborah Adekeye is happily married, and the union is blessed with children and grandchildren. I thereby present Professor Adekeye to
the Vice Chancellor, members of the University Governing Council, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academics, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Technology and Innovation, the University Registrar, the University Bursar, the University Librarian, Provost, College of Health Sciences, Dean of Social Sciences, Dean of Faculties, Postgraduate School and Student Affairs, professors and other members of Senate, directors of centers and units, head of Department of Sociology, head of Department of other units, academic and non-academic staff of University of Ilorin, my Lord, spiritual and temporal, distinguished invited guests, gentlemen of the press, students of Department of Sociology, and other students here present, great students of University of Ilorin, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, preamble. If I have 1,000 tongues to sing, it will not be enough to praise God. I give glory to Almighty God for sparing my life to witness today. It is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in my sight. I was born into a large family dominated by girls, and from people's belief then, there was no need to train us because we are going to end up in the kitchen. However, the purpose of God for our life was different. He gave us reasons to praise His name. Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me to give a brief of my background. This will give you and my audience a deep sense of understanding of my passion for the gender role. I was born in the mid-60s in Inaugural to the esteemed family of Chief Abraham Binu Omoyo Babatunde and Maria Wurola Babatunde of blessed memory. My early education began at St. James Anglican Primary School, Inaugural, in 1972, and I finished in 1978. I was admitted to Ilofa Grammar School, Ilofa, in 1978 and graduated in 1983. I proceeded to Kwara College of Technology between 1983 and 1985 for my advanced level studies. In 1985, I applied for BSc Public Administration at the University of Ilorin through direct entry. Because telephone was not common at the time and means of communication were limited, I did not know that the admission process was almost off. I woke up one Monday morning and I discussed with Bami that I wanted to go to Ilorin to see my uncle, who was then the Vice Chancellor at the University of Ilorin. On getting here, I went straight to Professor Samuel Afolabitoye's office. After explaining the purpose of my visit, he sent for the then admission officer, Mrs. Dupe Ayedun. The Vice Chancellor briefed her about my admission request. She checked her file and explained that the quota for public administration has been exhausted, but there are still spaces in sociology. My first question to her was, what is sociology? She took her time to explain to me the prospect of sociology as a course of study, and that was how I was admitted as one of the top sets of Department of Sociology in 1985. I graduated with a bachelor degree in 1988 After my National Youth Service Scheme, I secured employment under the Kwara State Teaching Service Commission and was posted to Mukpo Grammar School, where I spent 14 years as chief and rose to the rank of Chief Education Officer in 2004. In between this period, I obtained 2 master's degrees from University of Ilorin, Masters in Public Administration 1996 and Masters in Sociology 2002. I was encouraged by my mentor, Professor Basiru Salau, God bless his soul, to put in for my PhD, which I did in 2002 and graduated in 2010. Thereafter, I applied to transfer of service to University of Ilorin and joined the services in 2005. Through teaching, research, and community service, I rose through the rank to become a professor of sociology in 2020. To God be the glory. Introduction. The first inaugural lecture in the Department of Sociology of this great university was delivered by late Professor Johnson Adeyemi Sofola, the first head of Department of Sociology and Social Administration, as it was then known, on the 28th January 1988. The title of his lecture was Cultural Self-Knowledge and the Cultural Self-Appreciation for True Development in Nigeria. The second one, titled Work, Industry and Society, the synergy that mirrored the reality of our everyday existence, was presented by Professor Noah Yusuf on Thursday, 20th October 2014. The third was delivered by late Professor Basiru Salau, who by proficiency became my supervisor and guided me through my PhD thesis. I pray the good Lord will continue to uphold the entire family he left behind. The title of his lecture was Fixing the Turns in Our Roses, Sociological Imagination for Sustainable Development. This was delivered on Thursday, 18th May 2023. My own lecture is the fourth in the series and the first by a female professor in the Department of Sociology, University of Ilorin. The title of my lecture is Breaking the Glass Ceiling for African Women, Insights from Gender Studies, a choosing and suggested by my research interest, and also influenced by my past relationship with gender issues over the years. Concept of gender, gender role, and women gender role. Gender can be defined as socially and culturally constructed notion of maleness and femaleness as distinct or opposed by biological definition. While sex refers to biological differences between male and female, gender is a broad analytic concept which highlights women's role and responsibility in relation to those of men. Gender roles are therefore product of socialization, or the way by which individuals learn what behaviors are considered appropriate in society. Gender roles vary in different societies, but hardly is there any society where there is equal balance between men and women in their role expectation. Thus, gender is the source of inequality in many societies. Some of my researches have corroborated this position. Adekeye 2006, Salawu and Adekeye 2010, Adekeye 2013. Concept of gender studies. Gender studies is an interdisciplinary field of study that examines how gender, sex, and sexuality interact with other aspects of identity like race, class, and religion, and how they shape our social structure, identity, and power dynamics. Therefore, gender studies analyze the impact of gender on different areas of life, such as politics, economics, education, health, and religion. The concept of glass ceiling. The word glass ceiling was coined in 1978 and to refer to the invisible barriers to success that many women come up against in their career. The term has since been expanded and redefined to include minority experience. Glass ceiling refers to discriminatory barriers that prevent women from rising to a position of power and responsibility and advancing to higher position within the organization simply because they are women. It is because of these barriers that women are most likely to face restricted access, limited opportunity, low esteem, and low compensation in many areas of human endeavor, especially in the developing world. Theoretical framework. Theories are very important in sociology because they form the anchor on which all interactions expressed in society are based. Therefore, there is need to discuss some of the theories that explain glass ceiling. The functionalist perspective sees society as a complex system whose parts work together to promote solidarity and stability. Takot Passing, one of the proponents of functionalism, believed that a clear division of labor between men and women is essential for the stability and efficiency of family and the society. He argued that men perform instrumental roles as the family breadwinner, focusing on tasks and providing material support, while women perform expressive roles which involve emotional support, nurturing and maintaining the home. The theory has since been criticized for justifying gender inequality by portraying discriminatory roles as natural and beneficial without acknowledging the power imbalance they create. The explanation of this classical theory formed the basis for understanding gender role and class ceiling in the family and by extension the society. However, the most recent theory to explain gender role and class ceiling today is the social role theory that was developed by Alice in 1987. According to her, behavioral sex differences arise from the differential roles imbibed by women and men, especially those concerning division of labor. Historically, because of economic, ecological, social, and technological pressure, women and men are assigned to tasks that were suitable for their physical attributes. Thus, naturally, men were more likely to fulfill tasks that require speed, strength, and the ability to be away from home for expanded time. On the other hand, women were primarily responsible for childbearing. They are more likely to fulfill tasks related to home and family. As a result of these differential roles being played by men and women, on the basis of this division of labor, gender roles were developed around the expectation about the characteristics and behavior of women. Adekeye 2006, Adekeye 2013. The social role theory is relevant to break the glass ceiling for African women because most African societies are patriarchal in nature. However, with the coming of the missionaries, technological advancement, education, and improving their services, the traditional gender roles are changing. Many women today have taken up jobs that were previously exclusive to men and are breaking the barriers to reach the top of their career by breaking the glass ceiling. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, it is pertinent at this juncture to mention some of the traditional roles of African women. Generally, in African society, women play the role of helpmate, offering companionship and friendship. Another important role performed by women in the traditional society is the role of motherhood. They are responsible for giving birth to the young ones. They are majorly responsible for child upbringing, child behavior, and mothers are the first contact in the formative stage of children. Women also play the role of teacher by passing on the cultural and social heritage to the children. The children are able to learn the norms and moral code of society, which play a key role in shaping the characters of the children, such as being responsible, respectful, and honest. Factors responsible for the change in women's cultural role. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, many factors have contributed to the dynamic of transition of women from traditional to modern role. The first factor is the colonization of Africa. The partitioning of African continent at the Berlin Conference in 1885 led to the colonization of many African countries. The colonizer came with their culture and ways of doing things, and they were mostly different from Africa's perspective, leading to cultural diffusion, which affected many aspects of African ways of life. The colonial master brought their own educational system, and the spread of formal education empowered women with literacy and numeracy. Formal education is one of the major factors that enables women to break the glass ceiling. Adekeye 2024. Another major factor that assisted women in breaking the glass ceiling is the mass participation in workforce. According to Global Gender Gap Report 2024, the percentage of women in workforce around the world is 45.5. The role of women in the urban and rural workforce has expanded exponentially in recent years. Adekeye 2009, Adekeye 2010. Factors responsible for glass ceiling and barrier to women's full participation in all work sector. Many factors have contributed to the changing role of women in contemporary society. Despite the progress that has been made, women in African culture still face a number of barriers militating against their full participation, especially at the top echelon of social and economic organization, which is normally attributed to glass ceiling. Today, in many African countries, women are still underrepresented in many areas of life, such as politics, education, economy, religion, and the problem of family institution affect women more than other gender. Adekeye 2015. Some of the barriers in social institutions are discussed below. It is an obvious fact that patriarchal mentalities are still alive in African society. Cultural barriers associated with prejudice and bias concerning gender role. Women are shadowed with childbearing, elderly care responsibility. She is also responsible for the greater part of unpaid work. Most of the time, being a mother is a job without salary, promotion, day off, or overtime payments. Adekeye 2009. The participation of women in politics is also a matter of concern in gender studies. According to African data across African countries, there are 24% women representation in parliament. In Nigeria, for instance, in 2023, there are only 4 women out of 109 seats in Senate, and there are only 16 out of 360 seats in the House of Representatives. There is no single female governor out of the 36 governors that we have in Nigeria. There are just 6 deputy governors out of the 36 of them. At the state level, no woman was elected into State House of Assembly in 15 states. This gross underrepresentation of women in politics and leadership positions are not unconnected with a number of barriers facing women. Some of these challenges include patriarchy, political violence, finance, low level of education, stigmatization, religious barrier, cultural barrier, meeting at odd hours, high cost of registration of forms, sexist nature, patronage based on political culture. Adekeye 2007. In the educational sector, the gender gap in enrollment across different regions is due to a number of problems facing the girl's child, which include high rate of dropout of school, especially at primary and secondary school level, unwanted pregnancy, child marriage, poverty, sex discrimination, insecurity, and religious belief. Adekeye 2011. The Vice Chancellor, sir, at our local level here in 2024, out of 411 professors that are permanent members of Senate at the University of Ilorin, only 76 are female, which is just 17.7% of the population. And this trend is not peculiar to the University of Ilorin, but it cuts across all Nigeria universities. In the economic sector, the plight of women cannot be overemphasized. It is true that there has been steady increase in the number of women entering the labor force, but it has been observed that the rate of participation in terms of quality and quantity cannot be compared to their male counterparts. Most of the barriers militating against full women participation in labor force, especially at the primary sector of the economy, include education, African culture, belief and attitude, unlimited procreation, motive to avoid success, outchores, religious practices, time budget of women, unemployment, and underemployment. Adekeye Ajayi and Adeleke 2020. The religious institution is not exempted from the discrimination against women. For instance, religion, tradition, customs such as Buddha system prevent women from contributing their quota to the national development. Alanamu and Adekeye 2009. The same discrimination also exists in the health sector. Women face a number of challenges in relation to their personal health and in accessing quality health care. Some of the factors militating against the well-being of women include socio-economic constraints, cultural norms, religious belief, and geographical remoteness. The above highlighted barriers are enough to discourage women, and many of these obstacles are detrimental to the full participation and contribution of women to African national development. Despite the enumerated odds, many African women are breaking the glass ceiling and paving way for their agenda. Benefit of breaking the glass ceiling and overcoming barriers. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, Let me mention the benefit of breaking and overcoming barriers. African women have experienced significant shift in their role for traditional expectation to modern opportunity available in economic, social, education, and political landscape. The benefits include the following, among others. African women have enjoyed the benefit of empowerment, which has translated to more control of their life and participation in decision-making that affect them. They thereby redressing power imbalance through the acquisition of skill, knowledge, confidence, and opportunity to claim and express their rights. In the area of politics, the Nigerian women folk, like their counterparts in other less developed countries, are proved to be more than mere bench warmer, spectator, even in the midst of male-dominated congregation. There has been a notable increase in the political representation of African women. Some of the notable figures include former President of Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who ruled between 2006 and 2018. In Nigeria, women have contested and won seats as Senate, House of Representatives, State House of Assembly. The table 1 below shows the percentage and number of women between 1999 and 2023. At the Supreme Court of Nigeria, 2 females have occupied the highest position of Chief Justice of Nigeria. They are Chief Justice Aloma Muta, 2012 to 2014, and the current Chief Justice of the Federation, Chief Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun. Another important benefit of breaking the glass ceiling is clearing in the educational sector. There is a popular saying that if you educate a man, you have just educated one person. But if you educate a woman, you have educated a nation. Women in Africa has made giant strides because of the improved access to education. Adekeye, 2007. Education equipped them with skills and pursued careers in their various endeavors. Since Professor Grace Alele-Williams broke the jinx by becoming the first Vice Chancellor in University of Benin in 1985, more than 30 female professors have occupied the seat in various universities. Some of the current ones include Professor Florence Obi Unica, Professor Folashade Ogunshola Unilag, and from our own university here, we have Professor Adenike Oladiji, Federal University of Technology Akure, Professor Olayinka Karim, Fountain University Osogbo, Professor Nasmas Rajudin Bakinde, University of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology, The Gambia, and Professor Medinat Folorunso Salman, Kwara State University of Education. As of the time of preparing this lecture, University of Ilorin has 76 female professors. This is possible because of the resilience and unwavering attitude of present-day women. The benefit of glass ceiling and active participation of women in health sector cannot be overemphasized. The availability of improved medical facilities enhances the quality of life and reduces maternal and child mortality. Today, women are contributing significantly in the health sector. Many are fulfilling purpose in diverse areas such as teachers, doctors, nurses, health workers, and social workers. Many of the benefits of glass ceiling is evident among women in the world of business and entrepreneurship. Women have occupied leadership positions in the corporate world and have reached enviable heights. They have contributed in diverse ways to strong leadership skills and commitment to innovation. Their contributions are essential to driving economic growth and create more equitable and inclusive society. The increasing number of females in workplace has brought a number of benefits, such as exceptional communication skill, empathy, inclusiveness, efficient productivity, and building strong relationships that has translated into creating a work environment that values collaboration and mutual respect. For instance, over 10 women are currently managing director and chief executive officers in Nigerian banks. These include Yemisi Edun, First City Monumental Bank, Alima Baba, SunTrust Bank, Ireti Samuel Ogbu, City Bank of Nigeria, Kafilat Araoye, Lotus Bank. In the media and entertainment industry, women are no longer taking the back seat, and they are contributing their quota to print, broadcasting, social media, magazines, television, internet, and digital media. Women are also contributing to the entertainment world. There are a lot of them in Nollywood, Nigeria, Gollywood, Ghana, Swahiliwood, Tanzania. Another great benefit of breaking the glass ceiling is that there is now a paradigm shift from the traditional norm and stereotype of Nigeria in terms of expectation from family and society. This cultural shift fosters respect for women's rights in many aspects, such as the right to vote, widows' inheritance, the land inheritance for female. For instance, a woman filed a case against land inheritance denial and won at the Supreme Court in 2014. The Supreme Court justice in a landmark case of UKJ Falls, UKJ affirmed the right of Nigerian women to inherit from their deceased parents, reinforcing constitutional provision. This decision solidifies a female entitlement to her father's estate. The advancement of technology have connected women to global network, providing platform for knowledge sharing, entrepreneurship, and advocacy. Digital platform enable men to amplify their forces, mobilize community, and access global market, thereby expanding opportunity beyond local confines. The current contribution of women in various sectors of the society emanates from the determination to challenge stereotypes and break barriers that impede them from reaching the pinnacle of their endeavor, but there is still room for improvement. Some of these have been suggested in my studies. We have Adekeye 2006, Adekeye and Mahmoud 2007, Adekeye 2010, Adekeye 2015, Adekeye Adedeji 2024. My contribution to knowledge. The Vice Chancellor, sir, permits me to highlight some of my contribution to knowledge since I joined the university in 2005. The issue of women experience, well-being, and contributions have always occupied my mind and has dominated my research effort. In all my researches, I have discussed some cogent role of women folk and some of the problems militating against their full potential. These research areas include family, politics, economy, religion, education, and the earth. Improving gender relations in Nigeria, a sociological perspective. Adekeye 2006 conducted a research on gender relations in Nigeria. The study closely examined the gender relations in Nigeria and it revealed a lot of discrimination against women. Gender division permeates all aspects of Nigerian life. The study recommended that there should be cultural reorientation towards equality of persons irrespective of sex, and that Nigerian government should enforce the provision of the International Convention on Sex Discrimination, being a signatory to the convention. The study advocated for improvement in gender relations in Nigerian families in order to discourage disparity among gender. Impact of moral decadence among the youth. Adekeye and Ajayi 2017 assessed the impact of family institutions and other sociological factors on moral decadence among Nigerian youth. The study identified biological and social factors responsible for noticeable moral decadence among the youth. Other factors such as peers, social media, science and technology, urban community, poverty have influenced the moral development of many children nowadays. This social change have negative impact on the individual behavior and may in turn lead to deviant behavior such as armed robbery, prostitution, and drug trafficking. Adekeye Ajayi 2017, Adekeye 2024. The study concluded that most of the accepted moral values of African society, such as kindness, compassion, generosity, hospitality, faithfulness, truthfulness, and concern for others, which hitherto brought peace, justice, dignity, respect, and happiness, are now being neglected. These moral values are now being replaced by attitudes that are considered as bad morals, influencing drug or substance use, alcoholism, cultism, indiscriminate sex, violence, nudity, indecent dressing, among others. The study recommended that families, teachers, and religious leaders should serve as a good role models and emphasize the need for general reorientation of youth in order to have peaceful and orderly society. Nigerian women in politics, challenge and prospect. One of the researchers also investigated the role of participation of women in politics. Adekeye and Mahmood 2007 focused on women participation in politics and acknowledged that gender disparity in politics is a global phenomenon. In Nigeria, the participation of women in politics has been generally low, which can be attributed to certain socioeconomic and economic factors. The study took a cursory look at the level of women involvement in democratic during the Fourth Republic. The study highlighted the fact that women are active in politics, but they are as voters, party supporters, and they usually attend political rallies in large number to listen to politicians. Despite their numerical strength, they are often discriminated against and marginalized in politics. The study identified a number of challenges that have constituted a clog in the wheel of women active participation in Nigerian politics, to include violence, monetization of political process, the social process, African transition and culture. In order to enhance women's full participation in future politics, the study recommended an increase in level of public awareness on politics among women and in order to provide information and motivate them to join politics. In addition, women education is a very strong instrument for effective political participation. Adekeye 2007, Adekeye 2010, Adekeye 2015. Women participation in labor force. Overview of some barriers in Nigeria. I have also carried out some researches relevant to the development of our economy. In the world of work, women have contributed and are still contributing to the development of economy and the nation in general, despite the various obstacles in the world of work. Adekeye 2009 investigated some of the barriers militating against women's full participation in modern labor force, and these include level of education, subordinate position of women, religious and cultural practices, high unemployment, underemployment situation of the country. The last factor that was considered is the time budget of working women. Many women get up in the morning as early as 5 a.m. to take care of household and children before going to work. She works for the same number of hours as her male counterpart outside the home, and she's expected to come back after work and put in many hours for household duties. So women work for longer hours, but get rewarded either monetarily or otherwise on low scale than male counterparts. In some cases, the women have to sacrifice success at work for peace at home. A typical scene in a woman's life is shown in figure 1. The study concluded that in order to encourage more participation of women in modern workforce and to boost economic development through their contribution, the following actions must be taken. There must be a change in stereotype socialization, discourage early marriage, reduce the belief in African patriarchal system, encourage girls' education, embrace family planning, while men should also be encouraged to participate in chores and child care. Terrorism and the plight of women in internally displaced camp in Nigeria. Ajayi, Adekeye, and Fawole 2019 conducted another research on the plight of women in internally displaced camp in Nigeria, with a view to explain the nature of challenges faced by women in this camp and the factors responsible for their plight, and suggest measures to curb the identified challenges. The study adopted a qualitative approach, and the analysis was based on descriptive and analytic approach. Based on the objective of the study and the research questions, the responses elicited from the respondents show that the nature of challenges faced by women in IDP camp include hunger due to shortage in the supply of food and diversion of raw food and material to other locations by the officials. Other challenges include sexual exploitation, rape, molestation, restricted movement, poor sanitation due to inadequate toilets and waste disposal facilities, as well as official corrupt practices. Based on the findings, it was suggested that government should give priority to planning and organization of IDPs in order to avoid chaotic situation and molestation of inmates, especially the women folk. Gender disparity in higher education and national development. Adekeye 2011 conducted a research on gender disparity in higher education enrollment and its effect on national development, likely using secondary data in order to have basis for comparison. Most of the data was sourced from the National University Commission and Human Resources Division of University of Ilorin. The study started with general analysis of the gender enrollment in all Nigerian universities in order to have a clear comparison of gender gap in enrollment in Nigerian universities. The study narrowed its analysis down to University of Ilorin in order to have specific overview of the gender enrollment. Based on the enrollment in Nigerian university in 2005 and 2006 academic session, the study reveals that there is generally less female than male in almost all Nigerian universities. The study revealed that out of the student population of 555,202, only 36.7 were female, which has a serious implication for school completion, securing job, and contributing meaningfully to the overall development of Nigeria. The research revealed that some of the factors responsible for the glaring disparity in enrollment and completion rate to include culture, socialization, poverty, unwanted pregnancy, early marriage, cost of schooling, and low self-esteem. Adekeye 2011. The story is changing gradually because there has been a positive drastic change in enrollment of male and female in higher institutions. The recent convocation held in October 2025 at University of Ilorin show a great improvement in this regard. For instance, the Faculty of Agriculture graduated 933 students, out of which we have 651 females. At the postgraduate level, the same faculty produced 47 master's degree holders, out of which 27 were female. There were 18 PhD degree holders, out of which 7 were female. To cap it all, the overall best student in the 2025 convocation ceremony was a female. This is a very good development and a sharp departure from the research conducted in 2011. An overview of hookup syndrome among female in Nigerian higher institutions. In a study conducted in 2024, after the death of 6 girls that attended a party at Lekki and were not found again, Adekeye and Adedeji 2024 examined the issue of hookup syndrome among female in Nigerian higher institutions. The study observed that prostitution has taken on a new dimension in today's world compared to the past, as it gets more advanced, better ordered, and better used. The study found out some of the reasons adduced for engaging in hookup include unemployment, moral decadence, peer pressure, lack of knowledge of awareness of the consequences, low self-esteem, parental neglect, greed, and media influence. The consequences include health hazard, physical assault, violence, and untimely death through ritual killings. Considering the grave consequence of the syndrome, especially among the female, the study advised that there should be value reorientation and sound moral inculcation by all agents of socialization, especially the family institution. There is a need for counseling education in all our higher institutions and public enlightenment about the evil consequences. The above represented some of the study conducted on gender issues. Most of the experience of the female folk in all major social institutions such as family, politics, economy, education, health, as discussed, and recommendations provided. My contributions to training and mentorship in the field of sociology. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, apart from the regular teaching in the field of sociology, I thank the Almighty God for giving me the privilege to contribute to growth of some individual in the field and related courses as mentor, supervisor, and lecturer. I have supervised over 250 undergraduate students, over 80 MSc dissertation, 6 PhD theses in the last 20 years. I have also served as internal examiner to departments such as History and International Studies, Business Administration, Geography and Environmental Studies, and the Center for Peace and Strategic Studies, and as external examiner to some universities around the country. Community service. Vice Chancellor, sir. Apart from the contribution to the knowledge in academics, I've also been involved in various community services, especially those related to my immediate environment. I've served on numerous committees within the department and the university, among them level advisor from 2006 to 2012, acting head of Department of Sociology 2014 to 2016, acting head of Department of Criminology and Security Studies 2016 to 2017. Outside the university, I have served as member of Kwara State Educational Trust Fund, member, Board of United Missionary Church of Africa Seminary, matron, Inaugural Student Union, matron, First Company Eastern Boys Brigade, matron, Super Light Club of Editi. Conclusion. In concluding this lecture, Mr. Vice Chancellor, it is glaring that women in various walks of life are proving their ability to reach the pinnacle of their career by breaking the glass ceiling in various organizations as they are making significant contribution to social and economic growth of African countries. Despite the noticeable contribution, the fact still remains that there are still gender gaps in employment, entrepreneurship, politics, and top echelon of the corporate world. Women are still underrepresented in STEM. To overcome this barrier, women must be ready to be supported to overcome personal, organization, societal barrier that prevents equal access to quality education, economic resources, politics and leadership in all levels in order to contribute their quota to the development of Africa. Recommendations. First Chancellor, sir, in order to improve the strength of gender role and enhance its development in society, continual and increased attention should be focused on gender-related issues. The following are a few recommendations that can improve gender balance in Africa. Number one, the recommendation will start from individual level, especially for women, to challenge all individual barriers, such as poor level of education, low self-esteem, time management that are militating against the aspiration and motive for success. This can be done through proper education, training, mentoring that can assist the individual in reaching the top of their career and achieving success in their choosing fields. All organizations or work settings should do away with such culture as negative work environment, gender discrimination, biased corporate policies, and leadership style that are detrimental to the advancement of women in organizations, and give room for a work-balanced environment that will allow women to perform their responsibility at home and at work. The federal government should encourage female education, especially in STEM, because access to education, especially in STEM, will improve the opportunity for girls and close the gap in higher education enrollment. There should be conscious effort by all members of society to reduce all the obnoxious norms under the patriarchal system in African countries. These include eradication of gender-biased violence, harmful traditional practices such as genital mutilation, child marriage, and widow inheritance. The federal, state, and local government area should implement the 35% affirmative action for Nigerian women like their other counterparts in African countries like Rwanda and South Africa to ensure more women participation in politics. Vice Chancellor, sir, if some of these recommendations are turned into policies and adequately implemented, more women will have the opportunity to reach the pinnacle of their career and contribute meaningfully to the development of their country in particular and Africa in general. Acknowledgement. To God be the glory. Great things is done. I give all the glory, adoration, and thanks to Almighty God, the omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscience, for his saving grace and gift of life. Psalm 127 verse 1 made it clear that unless the Lord build the house, his builder labor in vain. I thank the Almighty God for the mercy I received daily. I'm grateful to my parents, both of whom are no longer with us, but whose memory are fresh in my mind. They serve as the foundation of who I am today. Late Chief Abraham Binu Omoyo Babatunde and Maria Awurola Babatunde. Special appreciation goes to all my siblings for their various contributions towards my success in life. Mrs. Ebonluwa Adeoye, Reverend Mrs. N.I. Oye, Mr. and Mrs. Abiodun Babatunde, Mrs. Omonike Babatunde, Mr. and Mrs. Adeba Babatunde, and all the loved ones that have gone to rest. May their souls continue to rest in peace. I appreciate the efforts and support of my fathers who intervened at different stages of my life. I will forever remain grateful to all of you, starting with my uncle, Professor Samuel Afolabi Toye of blessed memory, who facilitated my admission into University of Ilorin in 1985, and handed me over to Professor Joshua Oluwole Oyebanji, the Dean of Faculty of Business and Social Science, who took care of me and my friends for 3 years. also indebted to the following eminent professors for their contributions to my success and growth in the university. They are Professor Adebisi F. Adedayo, Professor Jacob Funsho-Olorunfemi, Professor Lakunle Ogunbameru, Professor Bashiru Salau. May his soul rest in peace. My appreciation goes to the Vice Chancellor and Principal Officers that have contributed to my growth. I'm very grateful to late Professor A. Adeniyi, who signed my BSc certificate in 1988, Professor S.O. Abdurrahim, Professor Samsudin Amali, Professor I. Oloyede, Professor Ambali, Professor Suleiman Age Abdulkarim, Professor W. Egbewole, SAN, for giving me the opportunity to deliver the 293rd inaugural lecture. I also appreciate the Vice Chancellors, Professor A. Fawole, Professor Taibat Odunola Bakari, Professor M. A. Etudaye. I appreciate the Registrar, Bossa, University Librarian, all the Deans of rigorous faculties, professors and members of Senate. My special appreciation goes to Professor A. O. Issa, the Chairman of Library and Publication Committee, for making necessary correction on the draft of this lecture. My heartfelt appreciation goes to Professor Mrs. Ayo Toye, Mrs. Dupe Ayedun late, Dr. Mrs. J. I. Oyebanji, Mrs. S. Adedayo, Professor L. F. Olajimeji, Alimba University, Dr. Mrs. F. Olowaleni, Mr. and Mrs. Ishola, Mrs. Funsho Olobayo, Mr. Suleiman Dagbo, Dr. and Mrs. Simeon Arinde, Mrs. Selekere, Mr. Shegun Alabi, and Mrs. E.O. Osagbemi. I'm also grateful to the support of past and present staff of departments of sociology, starting from the first head of department, Professor J. Osofola late, Professor M. A. Modi, Professor J. Ofayeye, Mr. R. A. Sheniyi, Professor Noah Yusu, Professor Steve Metiboba, late M. A. Adebisi, Professor B. Tanimu, Professor A. Y. Mohammed, Professor A. Ofawole, Professor A. A. Abdullahi, Professor J. Owoyemi, Dr. R. O. Yusuf, Dr. A. Raji, Dr. X. Z. Abubeki, my HOD, Dr. A. Olatunji, Dr. T. O. Tejidin, Dr. J. S. Ako, Dr. D. O. Fagbamila, Dr. S. T. Olarewaju, Dr. M. Issa, Mr. Abdulsalam, Nofi Oladimeji, and all the non-teaching staff in the department. My sincere thanks go to all the deans and members, past and present of the Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor A. Ogunsanya late, Professor I. O. Taiwo, Professor H. A. Zaliu, Professor A. Jimo, Professor G. T. Jaya, Professor I. P. Fabiyi, the first female dean, Professor A. J. Omede, and the current dean, Professor A. Y. Mohammed. I equally thank all the professors and colleagues in the faculty, Professor Iyo Oriola, Professor Remi Opayemi, Professor R. Olayopo, Professor A. T. Ajibade, Professor K. Iroye, Professor R. Bello, Professor G. T. Arosanyin, Professor R. M. Olarepo, Olarewaju, Professor Tunde Afolabi, Professor Sakalumukan, Professor F. A. Aremu, Professor Alabi, Professor Iroye, Professor Rahim, Professor Ojo, Professor Kilishi, Dr. Yaru, Dr. Yakub, Dr. Bakari, Dr. Abdurrahman, Dr. Mohammed, Dr. Adebiyi, Dr. Edun, Dr. Isaac, Dr. Balogun, Dr. Ibrahim, Dr. Akanbi, Dr. Salih, and all my dearest colleagues at the Faculty of Social Sciences. I extend my appreciation to professors and colleagues outside the faculty, Professor A. Taylor, Professor A. Adeoye, Professor Montesho, Professor S. Omalomo, Professor M. Ajayi, Professor J. Adeoti, Professor Isiaka, Professor Gunu, Professor Ogunkunle, Professor Lawuyi, Professor Kuranga, Professor Gbadeyan, Professor Kolo, Professor Nwabusi, Professor Adebayo, Professor Adeosun, Professor Arokoyo, Professor Ogunade, Professor Omotoye, Professor Larepo, Dr. Adepoju, Mr. and Mrs. Professor and Mrs. Owoeye, Professor A. L. Assis, Professor Duro Saro, Professor L. A. Yaya, Professor A. Adegoke, Professor O. Adeleke, Professor J. F. Opadiji, Professor N. S. Suraju Bakinde, Professor Ijaya, Professor Semene, Professor Ijaya, Professor M. A. Aremu, Professor A. C. Tela, Professor M. A. Abdurrahim, Professor O. A. Adekeye, Professor B. A. Adeleke, Professor I. A. Jawondo, Professor Anima Shaun, Professor Ode, Professor Rafiu, Professor Imam, Dr. Aun, Dr. Alex Akomu, Dr. Shitu Raji, Dr. Abiola Adumula, and Dr. A.A. Showumi. Special appreciation goes to our family friends for being part of my success story. Professor and Mrs. Henry Owolabi, Professor and Mrs. J.J. Adivila, Professor and Mrs. Olufayo, Engineer and Mrs. Olayoye, Mr. and Mrs. Tayo Abikoye, Dr. and Mrs. Femi Atoyebi, Mr. and Mrs. Dele Gbadeyan, Mr. and Mrs. Afolabi, Mr. Olonyinka Adeoti, Beatrice Jolayemi, Bose Ede Atoyebi, Olusola Awoleye, Engineer Ademola Adewuyi, Bumi Bamigboye, Biodun Bamigboye, Dr. and Mrs. Femi Oyebanji, Mrs. Sunday, Mr. Sunday Adeleke, Mr. Razak Adeyemi, Mr. and Mrs. Emmanuel Adeleke, Dr. and Mrs. Teju Osho, Engineer and Mrs. Abiodun Otunla, Major General Mrs. A. Adekeye, Dr. and Mrs. Oba Azan Kadri, Dr. Funsho Agbalan, Mrs. Bimpe Olawumi, Mrs. Sefiat Idris Yanomu, Dr. Adebola Amsat, DIG, Professor Shade Okeshola, ABU, Rashid Okunola, Fatai Adeleke, Lawal Osareti, etc. My in-law family, I cannot thank you enough. Late and Reverend Mrs. George Adekeye, Mr. and Mrs. Olariwaju Adekeye, Mr. and Mrs. Agbola Adekeye, Mrs. Rhoda Iboye, Mr. and Mrs. Oladeji Adekeye, Architect and Mrs. Tunji Oyedepo, Mrs. Moji Adewumi, Mrs. Margaret Songowanwa, Mrs. Remi Adeoti, Mr. and Mrs. Teju Adeoti, Mr. and Mrs. Ranti Oyedepo, Mrs. Sholape Ibiwoye, Mrs. Ayo Titiloye, Yemisi Ibiwoye, Remi Ibiwoye, Dolapo Adekeye, Bisi Adeniran, Funke Odedele, Dupe Alabi, Toyin Behun, Olasunkanmi Titiloye, Professor and Dr. Mrs. Teju Jolayemi, Engineer Mrs. Jide Atoyebi, Engineer Mrs. Adeyemi, and all descendants of Titiloye family of Edidi. My profound appreciation goes to my royal fathers and community elders. His Royal Highness Eleyiji of Edidi, Oba Gabriel Kolawole Aboyeji Aretujoye II, His Royal Majesty Oba Dr. Michael Odunayo Ajayi Arowotawa II, Ẹlẹ́rìmọ̀ of Ẹ̀rìmọ̀ Ìjẹ̀ṣà, Dr. David Oladele Oyerinde Adedunmoye, Ẹlẹ́rìí of Adanla Irese, Ọ̀túnba Dr. Matthew Oyinjolayemi OFR, and Dr. Joseph Ibikunle Folayan. My unreserved appreciation goes to all my nieces and nephews. To all my friends of over 4 decades, I'm very grateful. Funmilayo Adewuyi, Ọmọṣọlá Bamigboye, Comfort Jimoh, Olúwatóyìn Tẹ́júoṣó, Fọlákẹ́ Ògúnníyì, Fúnkẹ́ Ajíbóyè, Ọlábísí Awólọ́lá, Bọ́sẹ̀ Àtọ́lágbé, Bọ́sẹ̀ Ṣìtù, Adéníkẹ́ Ajíbóyè, Risikat Bello, Kẹ́mi Dùntóyè, and all my sisters and club mates, Mrs. Titilayo Oyinlóye, Mrs. Shola David, Mrs. Bọ́ládé Awúníyà, Mrs. Titilayo Fọlárànmí. I thank all my past and present students from the Department of Sociology, especially Ova Adiza, Emmanuel Paul, Noah Silas, Jimoh Rotimi, Badmus Ọmọjàsọ́lá, Akele Peters, Daniel Nelson, Saheed Ọlárẹ̀wájú, Nafiu Tóyìn, Babátúndé Gbénga, Tóyìn Adéyẹmí, Ṣèyí Atọ́lágbé, Sunday Ọ̀nànífẹ̀, Peter Paul, Dr. Lawal, Mr. A.O. Balogun, my doctoral student, Dr. Oluwashina Owóṣeni, Dr. Olumide Ajayi, Dr. Suleiman Abdulrasheed, Dr. Gbadebo Eseyin, Dr. Araba Kafaya, and Dr. Aderoju Oko. I appreciate my fathers in the Lord and all members of my churches and community, the Right Reverend Adekola Emmanuel, the Bishop of Igbomin Diocese, Reverend J. Odusolu, Dr. Ebenezer Kayode, Reverend Mizak Salam, Reverend J. Abejide, Reverend Olakunde Ojo Idowu, Reverend and Mrs. Adesina, members of United Theological Seminary Chapel, Ìlọrin Hallelujah House, Gakanbi, St. James Anglican Church, Iludunoro, St. Andrew Anglican Church, Edidi, for your prayers and spiritual guidance. I also appreciate the members of the following communities: Iludunoro, Edidi, Majeka Surawa, Ilofa Grammar School Students Association, especially the 1983 set, Malam Saka Mohammed, Chief Idowu Ogunṣọlá, Chief S. Sanusi, Chief Felix Omari, Olumide Tinoye, Prince Sunday Oyewole, and all members of Unilorin SUP platform, Super Light Club of Edidi, the friendly sister of Edidi, and First Company of Edidi Boys Brigade. I appreciate all members of Kwara Educational Trust Fund, especially my father here, First Makama of Ilorin. Thank you, sir. I also appreciate my precious children, Dr. Oluwafunmilayo Adekeye, Engineer Mrs. Adekoke, Oluwatosi Adekeye, Mr. Ayodeji Adekeye, Mr. James Dane. You all made me a proud mother. To my beautiful grandchildren, Nioluwa and Stephanie, I love you beyond measure. To my dear husband, Mr. Edward Sunday Adekeye, I say a big thank you for allowing me to follow my passion and fulfill my destiny. I appreciate all your contribution and perseverance in building our home and my career. May the Lord continue to bless you and the children. To everyone in the audience and online, you are the most important person to the success of today's program. I'm indeed very grateful. You shall all be celebrated in Jesus' name. Thank you. Seated. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, in person of Professor Wahab Olasupo Egbewole, SAN, I want to thank everyone for being around, but we need to mention some names. I thank the council members around, in person of Professor Godwin Tunde Arosenyi and Professor Muftau Adeniyi Ijaya. Thank you. Will the scholars please stand for recognition? These are scholars of University of Ilorin. Thank you for always being there. Please be seated. I also want to thank the Vice Chancellor who is with us online. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. Then I want to thank some past and present Vice Chancellors or head of institutions that are with us. Thank you, Professor Eme Aremu, Provost College of Education, Nuru, Reverend Dr. Ebenezer Kayode, Provost UMCA Theological Seminary, Ilorin, Reverend Professor R.W. Omotoye, Rector, Crowther Graduate Theological Seminary, Abeokuta, Professor J.O. Oyebanji, former Dean of Business and Social Sciences, pioneer Dean of Faculty of Law, Professor A.F. Adebayo, former Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor I.A. Taiwo, former Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor A.J. Omede, former Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor J.O. Fayeye, former HOD, Department of Sociology, Professor J.F. Olorunfemi, former HOD, Department of Geography, Dr. Mrs. J.I. Oyebanji, former Registrar, Bowen University, Professor Noah Yusuf, former Vice Chancellor at Litma University. I thank all of you for being with us. Then we have Mr. Kayode Alabi, Kwara State Deputy Governor, ably represented by Professor Timothy Opola, then Professor E.J. Jolayemi. Then we have the Alhaji Ibrahim, our father, Alhaji Ibrahim Oniye, the first Makamo of Ilorin, representing the Emir of Ilorin. Shehu. Then Reverend Nathaniel Idowu Oye and Reverend Mrs. Deborah Aderonke Oye. VNJO Odusolu Dean, Cathedral, Igbomina Diocese. Reverend
Mishak Salau, UMCAT chaplain, and all members of UMCAT. Reverend J.S. Abejide, St. Stephen's Anglican Church, Agonda. Reverend Olakunle Ojo Idowu, Reverend and Mrs. Esso Adesina. Then we have people from different associations, Christian Faith in Action members, Ilorin, Women Fellowship, UMCAT Ilorin, Titiloye's Descendants of Edidi, the Friendly Sisters of Edidi, Super Light Club Edidi, the Descendants Union, Iludun Oro Descendants Union, Iludun Oro, Majeka Surawa Community Association Ilorin, Ilofa Grammar School Student Associations. Wants to also thank the teaching and non-teaching staff of this great university. We thank the press too, and then great Unilorites, great and the greatest Unilorites. Thank you for being around and for always being there. Children of inaugural lecturer, Dr. Oluwafunmilayo Ayodele Adekeye, Engineer Adegoke Olaoluwa Adekeye, online, Mrs. Oluwatosin Adekeye, online, Mr. Ayodeji Babatunde Adekeye, online, Mr. James Kumar Daniel. And then I thank the 62 members that are online participating. Thank you for your time and for the attention. Now, the spouse of the inaugural lecturer. Thank you for being there for my sister. Mr. Edward Sunday Adekeye, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Shall we arise, ladies and gentlemen, for the university anthem? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. Thank you for being a part of this. Please kindly remain where you are. Let's have the procession in reverse order. You are to remain where you are as we have the procession in reverse order. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We just listened to the 293rd in a series of inaugural lectures of our university. The very first by a female professor from the Department of Sociology. We are saying congratulations to the women folk And most importantly, that the lecture